So this is another one of our showcase lawns that we're coming back out to. As we go into the full part of the summer, mowing is going to be super important, especially for certain types of grasses. St. Augustine, fescues, those are really important to make sure that we're cutting at the correct height. Otherwise, we're going to be causing some damage that we don't want to have on the lawns. This lawn was being mowed a little bit too short and not frequent enough for a couple of mowings, so we've seen a little bit of yellowing here and there. You're seeing some kind of uneven growth. Now that will all recover because, you know, it wasn't done too much. But, you know, with St. Augustine grass, you want to make sure that it's at a minimum of 3 inches tall. That's going to go with the fescue grass as well. Having a taller leaf blade will protect that soil, so you're losing less water through evaporation, so it's going to help you retain that moisture. And then having more leaf blade is really important because it's like a solar panel, so this is how it's getting all of its new growth, is through that photosynthesis. That mowing height has been changed, so we're probably a little bit closer to about 4 inches rather than like that 2.5 that it was being mowed at. So we're already seeing the lawn responding and starting to get better growth within, I would say, 2-week time frame. So I can see everything starting to go back to where it needs to be. Now I know in the beginning when we started doing the overseed with the fescue grass, it was throughout the entire lawn. What we were hoping for is that St. Augustine to get healthy and start to take over those areas, which we have seen a tremendous amount of new growth in a lot of these areas. We also spoke about in those areas where we're having more of that full sunlight, we are going to notice that burn off. You could probably see on some of that previous footage that we've had, the lawn had a much different color. Fescue grass has a very dark green. With that more of that sunlight coming through, the hotter temperatures, it's burnt off a little bit, but you can see most of this has some new growth coming in here or has completely recovered in a lot of these areas. Now, in the portions back here, you can kind of see it's got a little bit more grass in these areas. This is because, you know, it was able to retain that moisture and just had a little bit cooler temperatures because of the shade. Now, the same thing with the other showcase lawn. Any of these thin areas that we still have left, if it's one of those scenarios where you want to get it to fill in as quickly as possible, as we get into the beginning of April, that's going to be the ideal timing to put down a little bit more of that St. Augustine sod. With the fungus treatments that we've done, soil builders and everything, we were able to eliminate a lot of issues with fungus growth that could cause issues with that damage as well. You're obviously going to notice a lot more of that fungus in these areas that have a lot of shade because that evaporation rate isn't as high. So with it retaining more moisture, having cooler soil temperatures, it's a lot more susceptible to getting those fungus issues that can cause damage. I would imagine, you know, assuming that mowing and all that watering goes correct going into that next season, the few little small bare and thin areas that we have left should completely recover. Just one of those things where, you know, nothing is going to happen immediately. There is a certain amount of time that we've got to allow nature to take its, you know, course to go ahead and do things correctly. Can't force anything, so you do have to be patient with some of that.